Hey guys, I wanted to do a new update from the tea room. Today I wanted to just kind of focus in on what I'm doing with my slings and how to take care of the slings. Have a lot of questions about slings and stuff like that, so I just wanted to touch on that real quick. First, we're going to do an update on my Lasiodora striatipes. I got her in this big tub here. The last enclosure was just a temporary thing till I got something bigger for her. There she is, doing great. Lots of room. So slings. These are all my really little ones. These are all the babies. You can see them all in cups. But we'll pull a few of these down and take a look at them real quick. Let's bring this one over here. And we'll grab one of these. So I keep my slings in the same enclosures that I keep a lot of my teas. You can see them up there. The reason I do this is with teas, it's the main concern is humidity. You know, temperature for sure. Humidity is very important. Feeding is not as important. Teas can go a long time without eating. And everybody's concerned to how often or it's not eating and all that stuff. But the main concern with your tea should be, are we keeping it at the right temperature? You know, are you heating it right? Obviously. You don't use heat lamps and all that stuff. You know, they're going to kill it. Make sure you got the right heat and you're getting it from the right source, and then make sure your humidity is correct. I keep them in these tubs because it gives them high humidity. All your slings need really good humidity and good ventilation. These tubs got holes all the way around, all the sides, for the ventilation for it. The tops are solid. I don't put any holes in any tops of my enclosures if I can help it. You know, when you get into aquariums and stuff, you know, for some of the bigger teas, you know, I do have some aquariums that I use, but that's, if you use an aquarium, you got to go on the underside and put a just like a plastic, you know, hot glue it on the inside of the enclosure and cut a hole out so it keeps that humidity. I mean, this is a G rosea. It doesn't need much humidity, but I still do it this way because, you know, you'll be watering it. If it's really dry, it's really dry where I'm at, and I'll be adding water to that water bowl every day if I had this just open topped. So that helps keep the water and the humidity in a little bit, so you're not always fighting to try to keep it at the correct way. All my terrestrial teas I put in these cups with holes all the way around the sides and nothing on the top. You know, I don't vent the top of any of my enclosures, like I said, if I can help it. And then I'll show you in this one, I put paper towels in the bottom of this enclosure and keep them moist. And that way, when the lids are on, there's humidity all around them. Even though I got good ventilation, but it keeps the humidity up. You know, a drop in humidity can kill a sling faster than anything else. They just dry out and die. So these little guys, these are all my G roseas. Well, not all my G roseas, but all of them in this enclosure are G roseas. You can see the little guy there. You know, they drink from the substrate, so you want to keep it just a little damp. You know, I go through it and water these guys once a week. Add a couple drops of water in here so that they can have something to drink. And that way the substrate's not soaking wet. But they have high humidity, and the enclosure is what keeps it that high without having that substrate really wet. So it keeps them moist, gives them something to drink, not having to soak them wet. These I believe are versicolors. Versicolors, in my opinion, are the hardest slings to keep alive. I mean, I haven't had much trouble with them, but you know, every once in a while you do get one that'll die. They're a lot more delicate than most of the slings. You see them crawling around in there. So yeah, I keep them in these cups Sometimes, you know, when they're very little, these guys are about ready to be put in their own enclosures. Let me show you what I do after that. Once I'm ready to put them in their own enclosures, this is what I use. These little enclosures here, nothing on the top, they're solid tops, and then really good ventilation on the sides. And then you got to keep up with these guys, make sure that that the substrate is damp, always damp, and they got a little water bowl to keep. They don't really drink from the water bowl, they'll come down here and drink from substrate. But I put the water bowl in there just so it keeps the humidity up, more surface temperature or surface area to the water, which will keep the humidity up in them. You can see stuff like this. I'm phasing all of these out of I don't use these anymore, and I'm phasing them out. I had a lot of these that I made that were open tops with so it's all vented on the tops and not on the sides, and it's extremely hard to keep the humidity where I want. If this is my only tea and this is the only one in my collection, it would be fine. It really would, because I can always keep an eye on it, you know, add water when I need to, and it wouldn't be a big deal. But when you get more than one and you get busy, sometimes, you know, it's easy to let that humidity drop. So deli cups work great. Put the holes in the sides, like this one, holes in the sides. This is what I'm going to. I do still use these enclosures, but now I drill the holes in the sides and I keep the top solid. Even if it's a tea that doesn't need high humidity, you just don't add as much water. But with having no holes on the top, it just means the water doesn't evaporate as quickly, so that it keeps that humidity the way you want it for a longer period of time, and not having to adjust it constantly. Pokies. Here's one of my pokies I just fed. See him in there. You know, he's ready. He's definitely ready for a new enclosure. So we're gonna move him shortly. But yeah, this works great. The Versi colors, like I said, you know, they need the cross ventilation. They need the ventilation on the sides and not on the top. But in this enclosure in here, with the lid on, the wet paper towel down there, even though the ventilation's on the top, it's still not going to get away. You know, the humidity won't escape because the enclosure keeps it in. So it works really well with keeping your your humidity up. All your little slings need really good humidity, but their substrate doesn't need to be soaking wet. The problem is when you get soaking wet substrate, is you start getting into problems with mold, and mold will kill tea just as quick as anything else. As far as the substrate on these guys, I use a mix of vermiculite, peat moss, and cocoa fiber. So just mix it up in a bucket, put it in. Excuse me. So yeah, that's how I keep all my little guys. They all do really well this way. Have very, very little loss, even though, you know, you can see I got a ton of them. You know, these are all my new babies. These back here are all B Vagans, my G Roseas, and then I got a lot of mix of just different ones, and that one, and same here. These are all just a mix. A lot of these are OBTs that just are at second instar. These are all B Albiceps down here. So yeah, it works really well. I highly recommend doing it this way. Even if you have, you know, a couple teas, a couple little slings, you know, when they're this small, I would still put them in a container. Put good ventilation around the sides, put a paper towel in there that keeps it a little damp. And then you don't have the humidity problems. They do really, really well. Just make sure the cups are really good ventilated. You know, lots of holes in the sides. Just not down to the substrate level. Keep it up above the substrate. And I think it works really well. It works really well for me. And yeah, there you go. That's what I do, and hope it helps out somebody out there, and very informative. So anyway, guys, little update from the tea room. Things are going good here. Have a good holiday weekend. Hope everybody's out enjoying. I'm using it to, my time here is just rehousing and feeding and watering all the teas. So I got a lot to be rehoused. Oh, I do have a pretty exciting, if you keep your eyes out, my Emeranus, my skeleton leg. This is my female in here. Oh, she's gonna hide now. She heard me. Poke in there and look at her. Anyway, we're going to do a pairing video of her shortly. Got a hooked out male. So I just put her in this one. She's not been in this big of an enclosure before, but I put her in this big enclosure so that we can do a pairing video, do a good pairing with them. I try to, the females, when I get ready to do a pairing, you know, breed them, I put them in bigger enclosures so they have a lot more room. I find that I have a better pairing without them killing the male if they've got more room to move around. When it starts getting in tight quarters, that's where I've run into problems. So anyway, guys, appreciate everybody for watching. Just do a pan around of the room. Everybody in here is doing good. So, alright guys, have a good one, man.